Hi, my name is Krista Oswald, and today I will be discussing how increasing temperatures are increasing the risk of reproductive failure in a near-threatened ground nesting mountain bird, the Cape Rockjumper. When we say reproductive success, we basically refer to one main measure, the raising of young to independence, which is generally measured in the number of nests that produce at least one fledgling. For songbirds, this requires an extensive effort on the part of adults, as young are helpless and vulnerable for an extended period of time. Previous studies have found higher temperatures have led to negative effects both indirectly and directly on breeding birds. For example, at higher temperatures, there can be decreased rates of provisioning by adults, smaller prey items provisioned, and increased direct physiological costs on nestlings themselves. For Cape Rockjumpers, endemic to the mountains of southwest South Africa, decreased reporting rates have been strongly correlated with areas of their habitat experiencing the greatest warming. As such, we were interested in whether this decrease could be explained by changes in their reproductive success. Our study took place at Blue Hill Nature Reserve in the Western Cape Province of South Africa. Rockjumpers are found only in the high peaks of the Cape Fold mountain range in the scrubby mountain fynbos vegetation within the fynbos ecoregion. Rockjumpers are facultatively cooperative breeders that live in groups of 2 to 5 adult individuals and will breed continuously beginning early August through December. Now, rockjumpers are ground nesting birds that have limited access to vegetative cover for nest concealment. In this habitat of low scrubby vegetation, they build their nests downslope under rocky overhangs, which can often leave the nest quite open. Here we can see a few examples of nests, and as you can see, they do tend to tuck them in the crevice of an overhang, but they are still quite open to any predators. Past studies have found increased nest concealment generally results in increased nest success. However, this can be dependent on the predator type. While more nest concealment can decrease predation from visual predators such as mammals, there is generally no effect on olfactory predators such as snakes and birds. Now, the fynbos itself has a number of potential nest predators from across taxa. Mammals can include the Cape gray mongoose, such as this adorable little predator pictured here, or honey badgers. And there are a number of snakes in the area, from small egg eaters to cobras, adders, and a large boomslung, 2 species of large corvids, a variety of raptors, and even baboons. We had assumed that mongooses would be the main predator based on the frequency we had seen them around the reserve during our behavioral study. Based on this, our initial prediction was that nests with greater nest concealment would have better protection from potential predators and so increased nest success. Now, we began our deliberate nest searching into the established breeding season starting in September of 2017. We nest searched in known territories we had monitored previously for a behavioral study, as well as a few adjacent territories. Now, early in 2017, wildfire had gone through the northern section of Blue Hill, removing what had previously been very thick, tall vegetation that had not held any rockjumper territories. We did not search this area for nests in 2017, as we had no reason to believe rockjumpers would move into the area a mere few months after the fire when there was no vegetation. However, we did start to hear the occasional rock jumper in the burnt areas while en route to some of our northeast territories, such as the pond group, which is over here. Realizing too late in 2017 that they had in fact already begun to establish territories in the northern freshly burned areas. So in 2018, we began searching this area for territories and nests, and were surprised to find birds had not only established territories, but were also busy with nest attempts. 1 year post-fire, you can see that the burnt areas still have very little vegetation. We thus developed a secondary prediction, assuming nests with both greater nest concealment, but also in more open habitat, as in territories that had more recently burned, would have greater nest success. Now, we did not have an initial prediction in regard to temperature. Again, this was mostly as we had assumed we would have mostly mammal predators, and previous studies found no correlation between mammal predation and temperature. However, Blue Hill does have its own weather station, so this data was available to us. Now, our direct data collection occurred from September through November 2017, and then August through December in 2018. We searched for 4 to 5 hours in any specific territory, visiting every 4 to 5 days and looking for any sign of breeding. We observed birds using binoculars and scopes from 30 to 100-meter distance. Once a nest was found, we set up a trail camera at about 1 meter from the nest. We also had 4 infrared cameras, which were much better at picking up nocturnal activity, which we placed at nests as they became available. So here you can see the trail camera, which is pointed at the nest over here, as well as a female rock jumper within about 10 minutes of the camera having been set up. For each nest, we calculated nest concealment as the percentage of vegetated cover in a 1 meter radius around the nest as viewed from above. We also recorded the habitat stage. This was whether the territory had burned less than 3 years ago or 3 years or more. Nest success was determined by nests producing 1 or more fledglings. If we were lucky, these events were caught on our trail or infrared cameras, such as this video here, which shows a fledgling pretty much directly after it leaves the nest, caught on one of our infrared cameras. Now, if we didn't catch it on the camera, we visited the territories close to the assumed fledge dates to look for signs of fledging. We had ring nestlings with color rings on day 16 as part of a separate study, with fledge date generally 20 days after hatching. And so if fledging was not caught on camera, we visited territories at around 22 days after hatching. In total, we found 56 nests reaching the egg-laying stage from 30 territories over the 3 years. 2 of these were our ad hoc nests from 2016, while in 2017 we found 17 nests, and in 2018 we found 37. The difference between the numbers in 2017 and 18 we think were mainly because of our nest searching abilities, as well as our new understanding that birds would continue to re-nest throughout the season. A previous study had found no evidence that rock jumpers will re-nest, and so in 2017, we were not continuing to monitor territories once they'd had a nest fail or succeed. However, we did find 1 territory that had a new nest despite having fledglings, so in 2018, we decided to keep searching. Of these 56 nests, 46 failed, which is a rate of 85.2%. Now, 19 of these were from an unknown cause that was not caught by any of our cameras, but we did manage to identify the predation event at the other 27 nests. Now, in 2018, we did also have 2 nests fail early in the year as eggs due to a late season snowfall, although interestingly, nests with nestlings during this same storm did not fail. We excluded these nests from our main analyses as we were specifically interested in predation events. Our analyses included a slightly modified version of a daily survival rate modified from Mayfield. For each day a nest was active, it was given a binomial of 1 if it survived and 0 if it failed. In this method, exposure is the number of days between nest checks, which for us was 1 in all instances, as we could tell from our trail cameras each day whether or not a nest was still active. Now, year, nest stage, being either eggs or nestlings, and date were all not significant, and so were removed from our main model. We thus examined daily survival as predicted by habitat stage, which was how recently the territory burned, nest concealment, which was our vegetative cover, and the daily maximum temperature on every day. Our predation events were spread across a few different taxa. While we did find mongooses were responsible for 7 of the 27 identified predation events, the big surprise to us was in the prevalence of predation from boomslang. Boomslang translates to tree snake, and their abundance and prevalence in the treeless fambos is a potential area for future research. As a side note, while we did find evidence of an egg eater at one nest, which was the nearby egg ejecta, these snakes are quite small and nocturnal and possibly responsible for a number of our unidentified predation events, as well as some partial predation. Surprisingly, we found that nest survival was not correlated with nest concealment. However, the reason for this may come from the dominant predator type. Again, previous studies found that nest concealment had no correlation with nest success in regard to olfactory predators such as snakes. As snakes were our most prevalent predator, it was thus not that surprising that the probability of nest survival decreased as temperatures increased, when snake activity would be the greatest. However, while nesting earlier in the breeding season would thus have a higher probability of avoiding nest predation as temperatures were lower, they may increase the risk of dealing with inclement weather such as the late winter snowfall. As expected, we found that nests in areas with more recent fire had greater nest success, by far. In areas of more recent fire, we had a 45.5% rate of success, while in areas that had not recently burned, only 8.3% of nests fledged. There are a few possible reasons for this difference. Mainly, more open habitat could increase visibility, allowing predators to be driven off sooner, and it may be easier for wind to disperse scent, or there could be an increase in predation of the predators themselves. So, what does all of this mean for rock jumpers in light of their decrease in populations in warmer areas? Well, it's complicated. Mainly, while climate change is predicted to increase wildfires, which may be beneficial for nest success, increasing temperatures are likely to increase snake activity, which will be detrimental for their nest success. Now, I would like to thank Cape Nature, Tigerberg Bird Club, Animal Behavior Society, and Blue Hill Nature Reserve for providing funding for this project. In addition, rock jumpers are incredibly cagey and sneaky and difficult to find, and this work could not have been accomplished without a team. So thanks to Cam and Kaylee, as well as co-authors Lizzie and John for all of their help in the field. I would now be quite happy to answer any questions, and thank you for listening.